4:30 p.m. I'll call up public committee to order, meeting to order for Monday, August 12th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. First item is we don't have a guest tonight, although we have a new person. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Forrest Blair.
Yeah, so Forrest will be taking on the role of street superintendent here at the village. So Forrest is a 20-year employee on the street crew operations staff. So he's moving on up from one of our crew leader positions to street superintendent and kind of filling the role that Dan had.
Okay,
Congratulations.
welcome on board.
He officially starts Monday, next week Monday. So
Good.
So right now you'll still see him out and about with the crew for another week here, and then you'll still see him out and about in a different role.
All right, great. Roll call, please.
Zagami,
Here.
Artinger, excused. Hubbard,
Here.
Lopez Ferrero,
Here.
Mulder.
Here.
Item 4, public comment. You don't have any public comment. Item 5, approval of 7/8/24 public work and utility committee minute. Accept the motion for that.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 6, approval of July 2024 water and sewer permit.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. The staff report, item 7, CIP update. Michael?
All right. So on Weston Avenue, the X to J phase, integrity grading is planning to start that right after Labor Day here for the first half mile from X to Von Kennel, and then they'll pick up the rest in 2025 from Von Kennel to Ryan Street. So in about a little less than a month here, you'll start seeing some activity out there at X heading to the east. And then Alderson or Weston Ave, kind of that Alderson and Birch Street project. The roundabout curb has been poured for the most part. There's still a utility conflict in the northeast corner. Got any updates today on that at all?
Yeah, TDS I think is going to be there on Wednesday.
Okay.
Ticket clears. I'm still, I know Frontier was notified last week. I haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Sure.
But like we talked last week out there, we'll probably just, if we have to, we'll just gap some of that to get that curb in.
Yeah.
So, and they're planning, just to give you an update, the chipper concrete will be on site, it sounds like Wednesday, for aprons and sidewalk ramps and stuff. So.
Okay.
So you said utility conflict, it's just with the TDS, that's it?
TDS and Frontier.
Both of them?
TDS
Same-
is bad, it's Frontiers, yeah, quite
They're
a
in
bit.
the same trench?
No, same area.
Okay.
They have a pole that's would be 2 to 3 feet into the paved surface of the right or the northeast corner there. Yes, yeah. So working on getting that moved so the rest of that intersection can get opened up come the end of the month.
So where's gonna move it?
They just have to go back. Like
Is there room for it?
there's room for it. Yes.
Sometimes there's no room, you say go back.
Yeah. No, there is room for them to move. WPS already relocated poles, so it's really a sole Frontier pole and box that's right there still. And they started the clearing grubbing on Weston Ave and pavement removals. So water main installation can occur next, heading out to Birch Street.
That's, excuse me, Michael, that pavement, we save them, take it to Ryan Street? Or-
Yeah, that pavement was taken to Ryan Street. Then, East Jelnik and Von Kennel project. Water main, through the mobile home park is, I think they finally got through the mobile home park today. And then on East Jelnik, the water main between Kirk and, Camp Phillips is, should have been tied in with the still water easement today. So then we'll be going through the safe water samples, pressure test, and then we can start getting those laterals put in, sewers already in through that stretch. And they also, last week, we're talking about having a second crew come in this week and start working on Von Kennel at Schofield Ave and heading south towards East Jelnik. There's no new utilities, water, sewer in that area, so that'd just be a, I guess, regrading of the road and building the multi-use path from that stretch. So they should have 2 crews starting here later this week and getting that taken care of.
So what is the schedule?
They still have an October, I think it's the 20th as a completion date.
Is it gonna make it?
I hope so.
2 crews will help.
2 crews will help, and a lot of all the sanitary sewer work, except for one drop manhole, is done at the intersection of East Jelnik and Von Kennel. And then they have some water main yet to run from Kirk up to Tower Ridge, so. A lot of the work left is just grading, rebuilding the road, so.
So maybe you should ask him to give us update the schedule for the project.
Yeah, I mean, we asked for the 2-week schedules. I think last week we did ask them to update the whole thing, because the water main work took a little longer than expected.
Sure. That's the easiest part of it.
Yeah, they had some issues with pressure holding. Eventually they relayed a couple hundred feet. They relayed a lot of water main,
Really? Oh,
so. The Jelnik Ave project is done, was paved, pavement markings are done. So drive through there, I think it looks pretty nice. And I think the school traffic area will be happier now. One less construction site to drive through over there. And then our Ross Avenue projects, all of those are in some form of design. The city of Schofield is reviewing the Metro Drive roundabout. They had a couple concerns with how that was impacting 2 of the properties in Schofield, so they're gonna talk to those property owners and kind of figure out what's acceptable to the property owners or what would not, I guess, be acceptable to them.
Is it gonna go to the property or still is outside the property?
They would end up needing to acquire right of way, purchase property there.
How
So.
much?
It's
Those are
a-
a small lot, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, so some of it is that southwest corner of that intersection. There's, I think it's about 25 feet right now, or is it 35 feet? And they're trying to see if we can get it down to 25 feet of property purchase there. And then the northwest corner, there's kind of a, I guess, a circle driveway. One driveway comes out to Ross, one comes out to Pine Street there. So trying to, see if they'd be okay with eliminating one of those driveways. Just how the kind of roundabout fits in at that northwest corner. So a lot of it's kind of how far west can you push it before you start needing to bring it back to the east side of that intersection.
So we're still there with the setback too, right?
Yeah,
Or you
those are
gonna
city-
get enough, he's not in the setback.
yeah, so those are city of Schofield issues, I guess, not mine, so. If they're okay with it being in a setback that they have in Schofield, I don't know what their zoning looks like compared to our zoning code too, so.
Okay.
So that's really the one last hang up there is what they're comfortable as the city of Schofield doing. Fuller Street's continuing. We had some additional survey work done this past couple weeks, and then kind of looking at a mid-October public information meeting. So Should be getting close to about a 60% design here in September, and then having that shared with the public in October. Let's see.
So who's designing that?
That's a Becker Hoppy slash Isaac, then working on the storm sewer aspect on Rogan down to the Kellyland Park. That's it. Thanks, our first joint project. Let's see, the Schofield Ave Mesker, that one still looks like maybe late September. We'll have all the electrical components in and be able to just get a lot of that work done in a pretty short order there. They'll be using the existing conduits and just really need to pour some pole bases and get that infrastructure in. And then there's some concrete curb and pavement repairs along with that. I think got a draft agreement with the DOT for the storm pond on Business 51 Highway 29 in here. And then the Schofield Ave, Normandy to Birch Street, we met with Clark Dietz. And then we had some nice flooding events these past month. So I was able to verify some of the storm drainage and runoff patterns and figure out what the limiting factor is in real life. It really seems like it's a lot of there's not enough inlets to take all the water as it runs off of like the Shell gas station, where Mako's is, where Fuzzy's Taco is, that other Weston liquor strip mall area. All those sites just drain straight down to Schofield Ave, and there's just not enough storm sewer inlets to get that water off the road. So when we have those quick, heavy, intense rain events, the curb, the outside lane, I guess I'd refer to it as, it does become flooded, water standing, 6+ inches, and it just can't get off the road. So we'll be working with them to figure out some alternatives there, whether it's more grates or how to better get that water off the road when that happens.
What's the size of the pipe?
We have a 24-inch pipe. The mains on the north side of the road, so they're all 12-inch leads on the south side that go. But the pipes themselves aren't fully, it's not like a pressure situation where the pipe is full. There's still room in the pipe. It's just the water can't get off the road in time.
And maybe a couple more extra grade in there.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at, is how many more, if we just partner them up at existing locations, or if we need to put in intermediate ones in other locations as well. Yes.
Anything else?
There's well 7, 8 back up and running. We had some issues there with a lightning strike that took out our VFDs. So we did get well 8 back up and running. Well 7 we've kept off just to make sure there's no other electrical issues, and we're working with WPS to kind of do a voltage study out there just to make sure there's not some stray current or issues with the feed before we put both back in there. At least if one goes out again, we can turn the other well back on. So we're just running one well, which is well 8 at the moment.
Have you made any progress on, we talked last month, they still hadn't agreed as to finishing any final items?
We had a discussion last week. I think we have an agreement with Ellis. They may not have an agreement with some of their subcontractors. So.
Finding a path to completion?
Yeah. Yep.
Involve it by hand.
Yeah. Then the well 3 pilot for iron manganese did finish up. Friday?
Like Thursday, and then we wrap it up Friday, get that cleaned up today.
Yeah, so we can send that information into the DNR and I guess then start moving forward with the final well 3 design. for the iron manganese removal, which was necessary before the PFAS treatment for that well. So, well 4 should be going. August Winter has placed their order for their materials. So again, this fall, be looking at having them start construction on the treatment plant, the granular activated carbon vessels. So, and then we have our safe drinking water loan that got all the documents are approved, and they'll be on the village board agenda next week for approval of that. So that's about a $2.8 million loan with 1.4 million of principal forgiveness. So we spent 2.8 and only have to pay back 1.4. So, nice, nice
That's a
little.
DNR move, right?
That's a DNR loan. Yep.
If we're successful in some of the settlements, so that might help to offset some of that cost.
Yeah, any additional PFAS settlements that Josh submitted over the last few months. Yeah, any of those funds we've used then to also pay off any of the outstanding debt.
There are a couple other settlements that are coming out too that we need to submit on as well for GSF and Tyco and a couple others.
Yeah, so 3M and DuPont were submitted, and I have a feeling it's gonna become a theme. Every year there's gonna be another 1 or 2 class action lawsuits against other PFAS manufacturers.
Okay, anything else?
I'll be done talking. Unless you have other questions. Got a lot going on out there, so yeah.
I remember the conversation with the gentleman from Crane Meadows about some of the flooding issues they were having with that crazy rainfall that we got. Was the temporary thing that we've kind of come up with helped with that, even with that heavy rain?
Yeah, he's had no issues since then.
I wasn't able to make that meeting on the sewerage, but.
Oh, we did get a credit back from the Rim Mountain Metro Sanitary District.
How much?
Was it? We did. It was for. Give me a second. I'll find it here.
I remember it was 95,000, right?
Not quite that much.
We already realized it on this month's bill too.
Yeah, they credited us for the our July bill. So
Yeah.
I just want to get you the right number. And,
You don't find it, my number is right.
okay, so we got a credit of $47,314. So just a little shy of. I think our initial bill was for the was 107,000. So we ended up paying 60,000, which was similar to what we paid in other months. So essentially a little over $47,000 we got credited back.
And you're happy with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would have been hard to come up with a different number, but they were agreeable to the 47,000.
Other question? None? Okay. Anything else, Michael?
Nope, not there.
Okay, item 8, the street operation update.
I don't know, there's pictures up there Forrest can talk about, otherwise I can, but we do have several asphalt overlay projects where staff has been out milling driveways, side streets, making our construction joints there.
So, excuse me, the picture, he just gonna start laying blacktop, or he just there for show and tell?
On this picture? Which one?
The one before this.
Yeah, so that's where so that's what the driveway looks like before we mill. So on the skid steer there, we have a 2-foot, 18-inch mill, 24-inch mill. So that's what it looks like. And then if you scroll down to the next picture, so that's kind of the finished product. So we come through and we mill that butt joint. So when the new asphalt overlay comes in, there's a solid surface for it to pave into, and we're not just feathering in and having something that just breaks away over the years right at that joint. So it gives it more of that true, kind of butt joint, construction joint, match point there. So, we have, I think, 135 driveways in that neighborhood to do. So, then there's also, if you scroll down, all these, if you drive through that neighborhood there, it's a kind of almost like a slalom course, like a bunch of orange cones. But every manhole gets raised up so that it matches the new asphalt layer. Water valves get repaired, or the valve stacks, making sure we can get on them with a wrench, and then they get brought up too. So we had 25 manholes, 12 water valves. So all that is done with our staff in-house, versus contracting that work out. So we do a lot of that utility repair, fixing the riser rings on the manholes. So, a lot of this area is high groundwater. I think, probably just on the bottom of that valve stack, it is groundwater already. So, when you have that issue, infiltration's a big thing. So on our manholes, making sure that we're getting those riser rings replaced, keeping it watertight so that we're not getting groundwater infiltration that then we're paying for at Vermont Metro for that flow. So those are all things that happen before we just put the nice new layer of asphalt over the top. So it's a fair amount of prep work, I guess. But historically, maybe not always, but milling was one thing we used to pay for. That mill head has paid for itself and then some, just by being able to do it ourselves. I think we have a pretty nice process with the street sweeper behind. You mill it out and you come then sweep the millings right away. So it's a fairly quick process.
So how much time you spend to do one driveway?
You're looking at 5 minutes. 5 minutes,
Really?
5-10 minutes, depending on how, because you gotta blend in sometimes when the driveway goes up. You gotta make that butt joint in further, so you gotta make a few more cuts with the planer, so that you just don't have that inverted, where this blacktop meets the driveway, you can feather that in. So that could take you 10 minutes then, and then just once the planer comes through, you hit it with the sweeper. It's twice per slot to suck it up properly, because you can't drive over the top of the millings, otherwise it packs it right back down, and then you're out there shoveling it. So that's the only time consuming factor is to mill it, pick it up, and back up and redo another slot.
So doing the job take about 10 minutes, but to prepare it and going there and coming back and picking up all the debris and everything else is 3-4 hours job?
It's a full day, getting fuel, getting everything prepped, and yes, by the time you get about 3-4 hours.
So it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we used to bid a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, before we had the mill head. We always historically would bid these with the contractor being responsible for milling, and then we had an option where it could be bid with or without milling, and we ended up renting a mill head that year for whatever it was, maybe $3,000 for that summer, and that was still more cost effective than paying for the labor, paying for it to be contracted out. Because American Asphalt generally will contract that out to somebody else, and then, or whoever's doing the milling. It's not something they do themselves anyways. So, our staff we try to utilize the talents we have in-house as much as we can, because don't want to call them a sunk cost, but they're kind of a sunk cost, right? Like, we're paying them whether they're milling that driveway or they're picking up a dead animal on the side of the road. So if we get good value work out of them that would be paying, a pretty good price for in the private sector, that's where we try to find the best bang for our buck, because I feel like we're money ahead that way. So,
Question?
yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah. So I was just kind of over asphalt overlays. We had other restoration and the crack sealing, the business park paving's going on. This is a photo of Scott Construction doing the gilsonite sealing out here on Ross Avenue last week. So that was completed all of last week. Went pretty well. Actually had quite a few compliments from residents about the contractor, their communication. So even traffic control, the flagmen and how they let people through and kind of explain what was going on. So that was good to hear.
It was too fast, people to start driving on it, and I was surprised, because it's still, you get stuck to their cars, some of it, because you can track it on the side road.
Yeah, and some people still, they're trying to, that's always the hard part is you can't block off every side street. So every now and then somebody does turn through it and you try to, I guess, limit that as much as possible.
So now you're gonna stripe it.
Yep, so striping that will come next. So we try to let this sit for about a month. Otherwise, if you stripe it right away, it's an asphalt rejuvenator, so it is meant to kind of penetrate into the asphalt. So learned that lesson the hard way. We striped it one time too early, and the striping just kind of flaked right off because what it was bonded to kind of disappeared. So
We take a month.
yeah, generally let it be about a month to kind of establish itself before we stripe it.
That's what all those little.
Yeah, so then the little tabs are there to kind of keep the lane lines.
Other question? None? Anything else, Michael?
No,
Okay. Item 9, utility operation update. George?
So we had a handful of our usual kind of well maintenance items here. Some leak repairs, some tubing replacements. We had one of our summer help that was kind of looking for stuff, so he was able to actually go around to some of the well houses, kind of tidy up some of the landscaping and clean up a fence we have over on well 6. Michael touched on our iron and manganese pilot study at well 3 started up and was completed. So hopefully we can get that moving for our well 3 PFAS upgrades. Did some maintenance on our current iron manganese unit, our ion exchange unit at the treatment plant for well 4. Had some air stripper maintenance as well, completed our large meter testing. We're finally able to get into Cary and replace one of the meters that's been kind of on the fritz for a while. We wrapped up our unidirectional flushing for the year, as well as our valve exercising. We were able to get to one of our water towers and do a full drain down and cleaning and inspection for our DNR regs. We're continuing to do our EPA PFAS sample collection. We'll probably have another maybe month or so, hopefully shorter, if we can get our PSC approval for the well 4 and treatment plant PFAS upgrades. On top of that, there's, as Michael mentioned, there's lots of projects happening around here that our guys are running all over the place, kind of lending a hand when they can. Sewer side of stuff, not too much happening. Just some kind of general maintenance items, cleaning some floats and transducers, pulling a pump, cleaning some of our known bad spots. We were able to get out and televise Fuller Street as part of our upcoming reconstruction of Fuller. I got to get that over to Becker Hoppy, so they can get going on the design for that. Collected our pH probe data for some of our metering stations. Lift station cleaning has been completed as well. SCADA side of stuff, everything on the SCADA side is pretty much done. We've had a little snag with AT&T. We have some remote locations that are using cell communications for our lift stations to come back to our SCADA, but I don't know, something was set up wrong, and then we're like 3-4 different people down the line now that have been kind of overseeing our account, and we finally had a good sit down with AT&T, so I saw our account was kind of re-upgraded or something, so we should be on the right track. We're working with PJ Cortons on that. I saw they had a communication with that. So hopefully we can get our lift stations that are in the remote spots tied into our SCADA here in the next little while. Diggers still coming in hot and heavy. Work orders are same. Some of our contract stuff, kind of touched on a few of these here. Our Cary well flushing maintenance program. Guess I can touch on that once we get to the next part we'll be discussing with our well rehabs. Michael touched on that. Our hydrant painting is underway. I don't think it was the last meeting, so if you do see any light yellow or gray hydrants, that is not their final color. That is just primers that we're putting on. It will be coming back to get them painted yellow. Some of our high salt routes, they put a zinc coating on some of them, so some of them are color gray. Those are kind of in our higher routes along like Alderson, Schofield Ave, Jellic areas. So. Valve exercising completed, mentioned unit directional flushing, and our sanitary sewer jetting is underway. So we have our foreman John, his son Brax has been helping us out with that. Our other operator Dave, his son, went on to different job opportunities. So we have summer helping us with the sewer jetting. Because after that, we just have our customers added, our water pumped, and some of our other data for wastewater flows and lift station hours.
Question for Josh? Okay. Policy discussion and recommendation, item 10, is Jellic change order number 1. Michael,
So this is a change order to upsize 2 of the storm sewer structures. One goes from a 60-inch to a 72-inch, and the other one from a 48-inch to a 60-inch structure. Really just the county materials, once they had the design to submit the shop drawings, the angles and size of the pipes coming into and out of the manhole, I guess they didn't believe it was possible or structurally sound to try to put them in the way that they work, so there wouldn't be enough material on the side of the pipe. So their recommendation was to upsize them, just so there's adequate integrity there with the manhole structure. So.
what's the size of the man?
Well, so one was going from 48 to 60, and the other one from a 60 to a 72. So they both were going up a foot in diameter.
What's the existing pipe?
Oh, the existing pipe?
Yeah.
I have to look at that. They're larger pipes. They're not 12s. I know that.
Well, he's upgrading from 48 to 60, right?
Correct.
Is that the engineer doing it or county material?
Well, it was county materials recommending their that for their just for the way the pipe penetrations came. Otherwise, when they build it, I believe, the way they cut it out, the cutouts would be overlapping. There wouldn't be any manhole left in there.
Is it a design?
Did you look at that?
I haven't, but I mean, depending on the pipe angles coming in, yeah, it could be.
Well, that was just my one question on this change. Was, should we be paying for it, or is it a design flaw?
Well, I thought about it then, but this is in my philosophy in the past also. Let's say if he catch it and he designed it properly, we have to pay for it. Now he didn't do it, still we have to pay for it. It's the same price. Either way, it is our cost, but I do agree with you, the engineer job was to catch that and not to miss that, so. Can we argue about it? Yes. You should catch that and should pay for it.
That's your point.
But at the
We
same
wouldn't pay
time-
for it anyway.
Yeah, but
Correct,
at the
yeah.
same time, is that if we catch that, he designed it proper, we have to pay.
Right.
He didn't do it, but still we have to pay for it, that's it, so either way. And assume this cost is the reasonable cost. For the
Yeah,
project.
I mean, that's just the
And
essentially,
this is, and this is close to a pure cost, because at least they caught it.
correct, yeah,
in the
nothing's
shop
getting,
drawing submittal and not when they were, actually,
correct, yeah. And it matches what, you know, just looking at the prices of the manholes in the bid tab as they went up in size. You know, it's essentially, I think it's about $1,000 for one and $4,000 for the other, so. It doesn't seem unrealistic.
So what's the total? $5,674?
Correct,
Is
yeah,
that a total?
yeah, that was for both of them. 5,674 is the total for both.
What's your wishes?
I move to recommend the village board approve change order number 1 from East Jelinek County Highway X to Mesker and Von Cannell Barbican to Spokefield Ave construction contract for the total amount of $5,674.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 11. Well, number 2 and 5, rehabilitation project. Michael,
I can discuss it,
Josh.
sure. So, well, two, our carrier well, we did do some, work on the well last year. It wasn't a complete well rehab that we're looking to do now. This is kind of a starting point for us. We had worked with Water Quality Solutions a couple years back just to do some sampling to see what's really triggering some of the capacity reductions we see over there and some of the manganese increasing over there. So kind of step one to, I guess, backtrack to last year, there was some other DNR compliance stuff that we had done on our previous sanitary survey. We had to make some tweaks to. So at that time, we did have them do a chemical clean as well. So this is really rehabbing the well to get it kind of back to the best state it could be in. So then there's other protocols as we had worked with Water Quality Solutions to do some more kind of quarterly sampling, and then there's kind of a schedule of, you know, annual chemical clean, and then kind of on a more regular basis maintaining the well. We didn't want to jump into it quite right away because it, you know, doing any rehabs on this well, it causes us to have to switch to Rothschild, which is a cost to us for using their water. So I think it's a good time to get well 2 fully rehabbed. It's also lines up with, they have a plant shutdown for a week. So we won't have to, well, we'll still switch to Rothschild water, but they won't be using water, so we can save ourselves probably $10,000–15,000 on not having to switch over at that time. So, and then to well 5 is kind of one of our problem childs for iron manganese. It hasn't been rehabbed in quite a while. I think it was last done, and then we had planned to do some rehabs on it, but COVID or PFAS hit. We just didn't have the capacity to get it. So now that we have 8 up and running and 4 running, I think it's a good time to get number 5 done. So then we can turn around next year, probably plan for wells 1 and 6. So we had 2 contractors submit on both wells. We had a budget of $65,000 basically for well rehabs this year. They came in pretty much neck and neck. Our guys are comfortable recently with municipal well and pump. They've been good to work with. CTW had a little issue a few years back with some issues on cleanup and maintenance on some of the well house itself. So, but it's good to see the numbers, and not to say that CTW can't, but I guess our guys are happy with what municipal well and pump does. And there also is another component in here that when municipal well and pump was in last year, there's a gate valve that needs to be replaced as well in there. So we had already kind of discussed some of that work going into it. So So I guess our recommendation would be to move forward with municipal well and pump for both wells.
Well, excuse me, the gate wall, although on his CTW said no gate wall. But the municipal well also doesn't have a gate wall. They give
No.
you separate
Right.
proposal of that.
Yeah. So it's
How
a
come he
separate
didn't,
work.
CTW didn't give us a proposal? They didn't ask him?
I didn't ask them for that. We had already planned to have that part of our well shut down. So I guess I could have taken the 38 out of the municipal well and pump. Price
Well,
I put on
because-
there.
That municipal, that's 64,000. I don't think that, is that include the gate wall?
Yeah, so they had sent me a revised, we'd already discussed the gate valve with them, and then he sent me this secondary proposal with the 3,800 for the gate valve.
Yeah, but it's not in this tabulated list.
No, it's on the separate one.
So is that included in 64,000?
Yeah, so the price for well 2 for municipal well and pump would be your 27,530 is what they have for the well rehab. And reinstallation of pump chemicals for rehab is 27,530. Then I could separate it out to show that it's the 31,330 includes the 3,800.
Well, we gotta clear that. I don't wanna come back, say it wasn't part of the list, that's extra cost. And
No,
he's
it's-
right if you do it.
Sure.
Not only that, but my other thought was that right now it looks like we're taking the high bidder, not the low, but in actuality, they are the low bidder, right?
Yeah,
Right, well,
I mean,
and
barring that,
It does say no gate valve there, so
Yeah,
I
right.
kind of, yeah, I understand.
so,
we can modify that so it's clear.
so, yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's gotta be clear. For me, I gotta see it. That's it.
sure.
So
And I could clarify it in there. It was, I don't even know if it was running up to submittal time to get this to you guys, so to quicken through the adding, seeing what was coming out. And with it being as close as it was, and it's under our 65,000, then our guys are comfortable with municipal well.
yeah, because if you add that gate valve to it, that'd be about 67,000.
The gate valve is
gate
included
valve,
in
yeah.
the 31,330.
So CTW would be higher if they put it submitted.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes,
Yes.
so I guess unless CTW is doing the gate valve work for free, they would be the low bidder, but we'd
You
already.
know that's not gonna happen.
Correct. So that's why adding it all up late Wednesday to get this packet out, I had just said no gate valve is included on the CTW proposal.
Okay, question.
Because yeah, really municipal well and pump, if we were just talking about well 2 for care, their number would be 27,530 and CTW would be 29,951.
I just gotta count my penny.
No, I hear you.
Okay,
I hear you.
thank you. What's your wishes?
I'll make a motion to recommend village board approve the proposals for the municipal well and pump to rehab well 2 and well 5 for a total price of 64,760.
Including the gate valve.
gate valve.
But including the gate valve.
Please add
He has a paperwork for it.
Yeah, and it is included in here. It's
No, you included it part of your motion.
Including the gate valve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Item 12, Business 51, State Farm Highway 29, Stone Pond, agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. Michael?
Yeah, so I've been going back and forth with the DOT on this, I guess, storm pond, kind of right to utilize the DOT's right of way to build a pond. Seems like probably for about the last year. So it's not as quick of a process as you'd always like. So I guess the attached agreement is for 25 years renewable upon agreement. The DOT did not want to grant us rights into perpetuity, as someday they may need to redo that interchange and use that right away for something else, so. I was able to get them to go to 25 years versus the 10 that we started at, so. 25 years at least would pay off any 20-year bond that we would borrow for the use of that pond. And I also included that if they start scoping a project, they need to let us know as soon as possible so that we can either work with them or again, start redesigning something else for our stormwater management. The DOT scoping process usually is about 5 to 7 years before a project even starts, so I think that would at least give us enough time where if we did have to redesign this or once it's built and functioning, if all of a sudden they say, hey, we're redoing this, we have time to react and it's not a quick next year this is happening and you're gonna lose that ability, so.
So it's $1 a year,
It's $1 a year.
and you're gonna remember to pay it.
We'll probably just pay them $25.
It's easy to forget it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you paid in advance.
Yeah,
Well, it's gotta be documented.
yeah, and we have to maintain it, we have to mow it and, we can't put any other things in there, we can't lease the rights to somebody else to use the pond. It's all those things, we weren't going to anyway, so,
Well, you never know,
yeah,
never know.
so.
Okay,
I don't know if you have any additional comments, but, I think it gives us the right to use the pond or use that land to create a pond and as long as we're maintaining it, it is ours to use for $1 a year.
I mean, that interchange is pretty squeezed in there. I can't imagine them doing anything super dramatic to
Yeah.
change that.
And I don't know how many lanes they would ever want to try to add or, with the river where it is, I don't know how much different that can really look in the future.
is there a comment in there to say how often has to be cleaned? Once a year or?
That's up to us and how we manage the pond. The DOT just says we have to just maintain it within local ordinances, so we can't let, but even at that, if we rural mow the edges a few times, that's.
Well, if you have to dig it, it's gonna smell the whole area, it stinks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that'd be our own, I guess, maintenance agreement we create with the DNR when we build the pond to dredge it or clean it as the silt builds up over time, so.
question for Michael,
Do we have anything that requires us to fence in that pond?
As long as the sloping is per DOT standards, we wouldn't have to, no.
How deep is it?
That's a hole. Let's see. I mean, there's already kind of a hole in the ground there. It's a little harder to tell, but we'd probably be about 7 feet deeper than the existing ground surface for about 2.5 acres. So where those trees are, the ground does vary a little bit, but in general, it looks like we'd probably be about 5 to 8 feet lower than the existing ground surface.
what was the estimate, 2 million, 2 something,
Yeah, I think about 2.5.
2.5 million?
So there's no possibility we wind up with fishing that thing.
You can drop it in if you want to.
I mean, yeah, if they end up in there, it's possible.
I was more concerned about it ending up in there and then kids trying to go fishing.
Oh, sure.
I was.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
it's not, I would, if we ever do end up with fish in there, I would like you to kill it.
Yeah.
I just don't want it, that was my only thing I thought about, you end up with fish in that pond and it's completely surrounded by traffic.
yeah.
It's not bad to fence
Yeah, I mean, we
So I
could look
think-
at fencing.
And when you brought up
it
the
too.
fence, that
Yeah.
kind of where I would, I just said, I hate to see somebody go throw fish in there and
Mhm.
then a couple years later.
Yeah, so I
I
mean,
would fancy.
yeah, so we really haven't spent any money on design yet, because until I knew we had the land secured, it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to spend the money on the design, so.
I just know like, when I grew up, there was a pond and there was fish in it.
Yeah,
Find a way there.
sure.
Other question? I'll accept the motion.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the storm pond easement with the state of Wisconsin as presented by Mr. Woodall.
Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 13, construction service agreement for Arrowhead State.
So it's a smaller rural subdivision getting built on the far east side of the village. It's only accessed via the town of Ringgold, in between the Eau Claire River and Schofield Ave. But there's no water and sewer out there. It's all private water and septic systems, wells and septic. So the attached proposal from MTS, the range of 5,130 to 5,640. It's mainly for checking grade, elevation, and then compaction tests of the base and asphalt. I don't have any concerns with it. MTS has done other site inspections for us in the past.
Okay, question?
Kind of unrelated, did we ever reach an agreement with having the plowing or whatever?
Yeah, we need to do that here in the next month or so.
Just to say that,
Yeah.
it's come.
I think we kind of had the handshake agreement of we're good with you guys if you want to go plow it and just charge us how you charge the town of Weston. Yeah, need to get that formalized. Which really we send them our building rate sheet and they accept it. Yeah. Otherwise we'd drive through, pick the plow up, go plow our street, pick the plow up, go drive back out, so. I think we do that a couple times, they would just say, yeah, why don't you just plow that while you're here?
So it's just part-time.
Yeah, like, there's no underground infrastructure, it's, so it'll be, yeah, checking grade and compaction tests, really.
Is that coming off of Chippewa Trail back there?
Yeah,
You go past Jay,
Go past
come
Jay,
into that
then-
subdivision.
Oh, yep.
yeah, so you leave the village of Weston, they have to go through Ringgold, and then you come back in.
Anything else? I'll accept the motion.
I move to approve the construction representative contract with MTS for the Arrowhead Estates First Edition subdivision for the estimated contract range of 5130 to 5640.
So second,
I'll second.
discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Future item. Item 15, next meeting, Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 4:30 PM.
I think we
Yes,
missed
yeah.
one.
Regular
We
meeting.
missed one.
I'm sorry,
We missed the last one. The future capital improvements, number 14.
or item 14. How did I do that? Sorry.
That's all right.
Future capital improvement project, Michael.
Yeah, so I don't know, the map page is maybe the easier one to look at, so it just kind of, maybe been a couple months since we went over the comprehensive view of where we're at currently and over the next, I guess, couple of years here, so the red lines are everything that we kind of discussed earlier in this meeting as far as some of our asphalt overlay projects and our capital projects that are currently under construction. The green, Fuller Street, Schofield Avenue, Weston Ave, those are kind of the bigger green lines out there. Really didn't go through and identify a lot of the asphalt overlays. We do have a local road improvement grant for Shorey Ave from Camp Phillips to Huron. Really just trying to figure out how to fit that in with the Weston Ave project, so one of those isn't, so they're both not, I guess, under construction at the same time, but I think we can pulverize Shorey quick and get that repaved before work on Weston Avenue starts too much next spring, and then that'd be a newer pavement for as a detour route, or possibly even later this fall yet. So, and then the blue lines are kind of those projects that we have on the short list for reconstruction over the next kind of that 2026 through 28. So our STP projects that we have with the state of Wisconsin, those DOT grants along Ross Avenue, we got several of those. In the top left, you have the joint project with the city of Schofield, and the top right side is the joint project with the town of Weston on Ross. Concord Ave out here is in pretty rough shape, and once we start messing with the Ross Ave intersection here and with Camp Phillips and the Alderson intersection, truck traffic's gonna wanna use Concord as a kind of a detour bypass, so the goal would be to get that reconstructed before those intersections are out and Concord becomes the detour route. So that's kind of probably looking at 2026. I know we talked about the Jelnik and Alderson Street intersection. That's probably around a 2026. 25 would be a bad year, in my opinion, for it, with Schofield Ave and Alderson gonna be being under construction. Probably don't want Alderson and Jelnik also under construction. So this is where some of that, putting the pieces of the puzzle together and figuring out if this street is down, what street is gonna be open, kind of process starts coming into play, so. I guess, and then our wells are, some of our PFAS treatment and well treatment projects, whether that's well 3 or wells 1 and 5, getting, and Bladel Avenue then associated with wells 1 and 5. So. I guess just kind of wanted to go over that and kind of what the future looks like. We do have, working on kind of the financial forecast as well for the finance committee and village board to review as well. There's streets on here that you are like, whoa, we should also include that, that aren't highlighted. I guess that'd be good to know. I didn't go through the nitty gritty of what asphalt overlays we'd probably be looking at. I guess I just didn't put that on here, but you can look at adding those on there too. A lot of that is just dependent on if it's just the pavement that's bad and the utilities underneath are still good, we can, generally want to then just overlay it and get another, 10, 15 plus years out of that, that area before we're back, so. Howland Ave is probably the other one where if you drive on Howland, it's not the prettiest road out there, so water sewer utilities are fine out there. It's really just probably replacing what's underneath. I think last time we dug in Howland, we found a couple stumps, so. Yeah, down there on both sides of County Road X, so.
That's it?
That's all I got, just kind of, put that out there, reflect.
Huh? Okay, you don't need any action on this, right?
No, if you look at it and as you drive around the community, if there's other areas where you're like, oh, this is pretty bad, we should look at it. I know Bushka and Harwood, kind of that little loop just north of Shorey over to Alderson Street, just right off of where the mouse is. Yeah, so that's Harwood coming off of Alderson, and then it turns into Bushka heading south. That's a pretty poor road, and I guess that's where we try to balance, not that any road is insignificant, but there's 6, maybe 7 houses on that road. There's not a lot. So we have historically tried to prioritize our arterial collector streets, and then when we can, kind of catch up on those residential streets. Christensen Ave's another one off of
So,
Kramer. where-
Excuse me, Michael.
Yep,
Is Bushka is the village road,
they are village roads, yes.
but he didn't build it right. If I remember, we had a big issue with it.
Okay,
Yeah, I always had problem with that road.
sure.
So the only way you can fix it, just
Yeah,
take
you
it
gotta
out
redo
and
it.
redo the project 100%.
Yep, yeah, I mean, a lot of that area on the south side of the highway, we've got this, kind of fine gray clay that, will peek through the pavement, and, generally speaking, you gotta remove the gray clay before you can, build a road over it, so. Yeah.
Grant applications that could change your priorities in this?
Yeah, that can, grant cycles are usually every 2 years, so last year was a big grant cycle where we got, a bunch of these, so.
That's what I was mentioning, just,
Yeah.
I mean, it all sounds great to plan it, but then you
Yeah.
come in and you go, fuck.
Yeah, so, I mean, one of the goals with, Ike here on board is to start getting, design work prepped on these, so that, survey is done. That was one of the challenges we ran into with the last round of, grants, is some of them were, you apply, you find out in May, and you needed to have a design almost ready to go, so. If we can get a few of these projects kind of identified and, maybe not final design, but, kind of that 60% done, we're in a lot better spot to be able to respond quickly, when that occurs, so.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a few quote unquote shovel-ready projects.
Yeah. Yep, I mean, there's always some regulation or something that changes where you have to maybe change a few things, but, you get close, so it's in there. That's all I got.
Okay, a question for Michael?
It's a great thing.
These are all being rated, right?
Correct, yeah. And then, so I mean, besides just pavement condition, we always look at, pipe material, so, we got about 13 miles of asbestos water main still in the village. And a lot of that is getting close to its, expectant life. So the goal is to get that replaced before we end up having a lot of, main break issues, so.
Those asbestos pipe are commodity.
It does, I know, I always say it, sorry. So, and then, I mean, sewer, again, some of the older areas, we talk about the Everest area, generally anything west of Alderson Street. And that was where the original sanitary district started, so a lot of that is getting into the 60+ year range. So, so the goal is we start working on that, so by the time we're done over the next 10 years, we're hopefully as old, nothing is ever older than about 70, or a little more than 70 in the ground.
So still going to be quite a bit old, 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, a lot, so like the main route we replaced through Stillwater and, on East Jelnik this year, like that was put in the ground in 68. So, not quite 60 years on that pipe.
Okay. Other question for Michael? All right, item 15. Next meeting date. A Monday, September 9, 2024 at 4:30 PM. That's a regular meeting. B, Monday, October 14, 2024 at 4:30 PM. That's a regular meeting. Item 16, topic for future meeting. Do we have anything? None. Remark from staff? Ike? Judge?
I got nothing.
Forrest?
Michael?
I talked to Malcolm, I'm good.
All right, more remark from committee members. No?
Congratulations, Morris.
Yes, thank you.
I just wanted to bring up, we had our first meeting last week of the new Public Safety Committee. And during that meeting, there was a proposal brought up by Chief Hunt about expanding our ATV, UTV routes throughout the village, which I know we've discussed a few times here in the committee. So it's kind of going through that committee because it's coming from the chief as part of that new committee. So we're going to be, our ask of him was to bring a proposed map for the next meeting so that we can look at the proposed routes, and asking that Michael kind of give his feedback on some of that too, about the concerns that have been brought up in this meeting before. I think the general recommendation was that all streets get opened up, but I know that there's gonna be some feedback on that outside of the major arterials, but so that'll come up at our next meeting for discussion, which is the day after Labor Day, if I remember. So just wanted to make you guys aware, since I know we've discussed it here before.
Has there been any accidents since we opened some of the streets?
I don't know, Chief Hunt kind of made it sound like there haven't been many issues, but I anticipate that there's gonna be a lot more conversation about any issues and stuff like that.
I think somebody should look at that issue, because at least that's my concern. I have seen them, especially when they cross the mask.
We can pull accident reports.
It would be nice to know at least, if there's nothing, that's great, but if there's something, what's the reason why, where? So we don't have,
When you say that you're gonna try to open up all of them, other arterials, they could be around schools also.
So this was prompted by somebody from Schofield who wants to get Schofield opened up, and to do so, they kind of need the help from Rothschild and Weston to make it more, so it's open to everybody. And I guess we haven't made a recommendation to open it up, but that was kind of the thought was, are we gonna keep piecemealing it together, or are we just gonna open it up? So I think right now, the recommendation is outside of the major arterials, opening up every village road, but he's gonna be putting together a proposed map with the village to come to the next meeting, so that we can kind of look at it, because at that meeting last week, we didn't have a map, so.
Did they allow kids to drive to school?
I don't know, I mean, I assume if they're allowed to drive them on the roads, they're allowed to drive them to the school. The school might not want them there, but that's something the school would have.
I'm just raising that's a couple issues that crossed my mind right away. There's a lot of 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are like considered, hey, guess what? You can drive to school with those now.
Yeah.
And is that what we want? I'm not saying it is or isn't, but yeah. It's just something I would, they say they're gonna open everything up, but a little cautious. Maybe they don't, the school doesn't want all that.
I know they brought up at the meeting though, motorcycles, right? If you were 16, 17, or 18, you could also have a motorcycle and you could also take that to school. So that was a comparison that was brought up at the Clips meeting.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying I'm for or against it, I just, you open Pandora's box, everything comes out.
All right, anything else?
Or do we want them, for example, on this, if you've got emergency vehicles, you want to have that road, you want to say, no, we don't want them on that road, because it's just one more thing to get in the way.
Okay. Item 19, announcement. I don't have any announcement, except the motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you very much, gentlemen.